Anastasia is an 18-year-old senior and athlete at Riverhead High School. She's been destroyed. Her principal, who had been her mentor, her hero, is in fact just a pervert who used his power over her to ensnare her in his dirty sexual traps. Charles Reagan learned that she is an adopted child from Russia who in her senior year suffered deep depression and turned to weed and alcohol. She was especially defenseless, a sitting target for a predator. He ran track with her. He repeatedly brought her into his office to encourage her to open up to him, to enable him to break down her mental and psychological defenses. He told her to give up her counselor, Sarah. He kissed her head. Pretending to counsel her, sexual deviant Reagan deluded her into complete dependence upon him alone, in isolating her from her family, her friends, and school counselor. He moved her sister out of the school to Sagamore in order to isolate her. He led Anastasia astray into sexual fantasies, encouraging her to masturbate for him and urging her to have sex with him. He sent her hundreds of texts, including sexually charged texts and pictures of him undressed, all the while deluding her into her passionate belief that he loved her. He sent her sexually charged pictures and videos and a meme encouraging that she watch pornography. She was reduced to defenseless dependence upon him. Then he sexually assaulted her in his office during school. He pulled her by the neck into his embrace and shoved his tongue into her mouth. She was dazed, overwhelmed, and helpless. She escaped. She told others. Charles Reagan is not even suspended from school as we speak. Now, we have here literally thousands of text messages back and forth between Mr. Reagan and Anastasia, just from the end of March until the end of April. In 1 month, thousands of texts. You can only wonder what was this man doing as the principal besides texting her. And in those texts, not only are there sexually foul, disgusting things that were said, but also he was jealous of the boys who had an interest in her. 2 boys had an interest in her, and they expressed it. He threatened to kill them. We have the text and we will show them to you. And he meant it. This man is a psychopath. He sent her a picture when he was trying to get her to do something sexual. He sent her a picture of his young daughter, his 6-year-old daughter. That's what we're dealing with. And even then, with those thoughts in mind, and with his picture of his naked picture, where he just barely covers his private part, even then, and the police are aware of this, the Riverhead Police Department. The Riverhead Police Department took the position and told Marianne that they do not think any crime had been committed because she is 18 years old. And therefore they were to do nothing whatsoever, not even an order of protection. We know from our study that there are at least 3 different laws that were violated that are criminal. Unlawful imprisonment in the 2nd degree, which is a Class A misdemeanor. Sexual abuse in the 3rd degree, which is a Class B misdemeanor. and harassment in the second degree, which is a criminal infraction. Each one of those could have been charged and with them brought an order of protection. But there's no order of protection. This man has threatened to kill 2 children. The police have the records and did nothing. Something's very wrong here with the institutions. We don't know who knows who, but we're very suspicious, as you can tell. The school didn't even have the sense to suspend him. They merely reassigned him, which means that he's somewhere in the community, he's somewhere. And nobody has done a thing about this. So this poor little girl, who just happens to be 18 years old, should be sent into a public school where it's a free-for-all for a psychopath and a pervert like this, just because she's 18. If you were a parent and it was your child and that's what happened, I don't think you'd care too much about the age. She is not the authority. Mr. Reagan is the authority. He took control of her. And any parent, any self-respecting parent, and these are self-respecting parents, any parent in their right mind would want to go to that school and castrate this man, because that's what he deserves. He belongs in jail, and he belongs punished and away from this girl. So they've come here today to assist the school and the police in understanding what their duties are and to make them do their duties as they should, and to stand up for her rights and to let you know who the real victim is here. So I will now turn it over to Anastasia, and she's going to read you a statement. Anastasia, go ahead. Nice and slow.
Hello.
I am here to expose this evil, dirty man as his amoral, unworthy school. I am a victim. I am standing up for myself as a woman and as a student for our rights. A school is not supposed to be a sexual trap for vulnerable young students. This school has not even sought to have this man arrested. The Riverhead police have done nothing. I am losing faith in our system and in America. Charles Reagan and Riverhead School have destroyed my spirit.
With that, we'll open up for questions.
Anastasia, are you willing to speak at all about your emotions right now pertaining to Charles Reagan?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you wish to say to him now?
I would ask him why he put me in a position of doing what he did, why he thought I was easy.
How long has this going on for?
This has been going on literally since early January. He tuned it up very much so in March, towards the end of March, and brought it into April. But we think he's had his eye on her for well over a year.
Anastasia, how do you feel about him not losing his job?
I'm angry that he didn't lose his job.
And at what point was this brought to the school district, and what was their immediate response?
Marianne?
I found out Monday morning, with the information that Charles Reagan kissed my daughter.
Are you at liberty to say how you found out, or what? I mean.
I found out I got a phone call from the school district.
Okay.
Mr. Ray, you say in the complaint that he had a history of this at Eastport South Manor School District. Can you elaborate on that at all?
Yes, we are aware. We became aware after the charge was first known about. We became aware that this man had worked in the South Manor Eastport School District before he came to Riverhead, and we are now aware through the media and through the internet that he had problems in that other district before he came to Riverhead, and there are persons that he also did the same thing to. We're not at liberty yet to reveal who those persons are and what they have to say, but they do exist. We've been in touch, and they are real. He apparently left there under clouded circumstances, and so Riverhead has a responsibility for that as well.
Is it your understanding that one school district was aware of this behavior? He transferred, similar to what you'd see in the Catholic Church, and moved to another school. That Riverhead was aware of the behavior, covered it up. Is that the understanding?
We believe that Riverhead knew or should have known in hiring an administrator about his background. They should have taken the time to investigate. Whether they actually knew, we don't know. But we'll find out. These are two different. They're not like the Catholic Church in that they're two separate districts that operate autonomously from one another. But still, when you're in the field of administration in Suffolk County, it's a small group of people. They all know each other. They all know about each other. It would be I would be hard put to believe that somebody in South Manor didn't know about his other depredations and didn't tell anybody.
Can you characterize these text message threats to these other students? What was said specifically?
Yes, I can. In fact, my glasses, no. 1 second.
He also was the assistant principal at Riverhead.
Yes, he was before this. Here's what he said, and I'll quote it, all right? Anastasia's writing to him about another person who has an interest in her, and he writes back to her on April 19th in the evening. I'll kill the mother that sent for a pick. That's one death threat. And then there's another. Bear with me, I gotta find it.
Anastasia, do you think this was a real relationship, that maybe he was in love with you? You know, the text messages kind of indicate, he's like, I want a long-term relationship with you.
No.
Did you think, what did you think was going on?
I thought he was trying to support me and get me to a better place, because that's what he told me for a very long time. And then during my spring break, it got definitely a lot more hot and heavier. So.
And what was your response? Or how did you feel about those? Because the text messages that are shown, it seems to show some sort of communication back and forth. So tell me, how did you respond? How did you feel about those when they became more intimate?
I don't really know how to feel about them.
Anastasia, when he trapped you in his office, were you shaking? What were your reactions?
Yes. I was definitely more scared than I expected to be.
And
Can
you were
describe
describing.
what happened?
Yes.
Yeah, can you walk us through what happened on the 30th? How did you end up in the office? What happened?
I was walking around the halls, and I ended up in Regan's office, and my friend was with me, and we were just sitting there talking, and then my friend had to leave to go to class because the second period just rang. And then he came back in and sat down, and he said, what time do you have to get to your field trip? And I said, I have to get there, like now, I have to be there. And he was like, oh, why didn't you tell me? I said, I was getting to that point. So then when I got up to leave, we hugged, and then he brought me in for a kiss, and he held the back of my neck and brought me closer. And when everything was over, I got out of there as fast as I could.
When you say everything was over, what happened?
We made out.
For how long, you think?
Minute.
What did you think when you saw the selfies that he sent you?
I didn't know what to think.
You said that.
By the way, just so you asked about the other one, I found it. Here's what he wrote also to her on April 18th at 4:45 p.m. If he with my Anastasia, I'll dead ass lose my job and kill him.
Can you read that?
I'll read it again. If he writes, if to her, if he with my Anastasia, I'll dead ass lose my job and kill him. And it's not a joke when you read the string.
Anastasia, you were just saying that you guys made out for about a minute. So what, did something change in your mind after that? Because you said you ran out as quickly as possible. Did something change? Did you now feel like that had crossed a line from where you were? I guess we're trying to kind of figure out what had happened preceding and how we got to this point.
Yes, absolutely. I definitely felt like after the kiss, we were definitely crossed the line. It was too much for me.
And when did you file the police report?
Wednesday?
Anastasia, did he help you through the troubles that you were going through up to the point where he crossed the line? What was that relationship like, and how important was that for you?
I saw Dr. Regan as a father figure because I don't have a dad. I'm adopted. And for a long time, I was like, I told him, and I was like, I see you as a father figure, and I see you like as such a mentor and a support that I expected nothing.
And you were feeling better about yourself?
Yes.
So he was helping you through this?
Yes. He got me into track and eating healthier and taking care of myself.
This is a classic style of a groomer, sexual predator. They find weaknesses, they rush in, they make you think that they're your counselor, your friend, and in fact, in his case, he even writes to her to talk to Marianne about dropping counseling, and then says right after that, I'll be your counselor, in writing. Okay, so a predator does that. They use these things that are real. They appeal to a young innocent girl like this, and then they close in on her, isolate her, and meanwhile keep planting more and more sexual comments until we get to the real dirt, the real filth that he starts saying to her about touching her in her private parts and having her masturbate and things like that, and how he wants to have wild sex with her, and he even sends her photographs of a man and a young girl having preparing for sex and moving in on it. So that's the real truth. Helping her is just incidental.
We heard from
Anastasia, what is
Marianne,
it-
but could we also hear from you about your reaction when you saw the photos being sent from the high school principal to your daughter?
I'm sick to my stomach. It's destroyed her. He's broken her, and she was already broken.
What is the timeline on the pictures? What was the first picture that he sent, and how did that escalate?
You can answer if you know.
I don't know.
All right. Well, what happens is he starts sending her photos initially of a track. He sends pictures of airplanes flying. He sends pictures of a lion roaring. Nice little things that I guess have a message attached to them. And then the next thing you know, he's sending her a meme about pornography. That pornography is good. Okay? Then the next thing you know, he sends a few more nice pictures in between. And all of a sudden, as we're moving towards the kiss, as we're getting closer to that time, he starts sending the pictures that you've seen, where first he shows himself naked from the top, from the waist up, and then he shows a fully naked picture covering only his private part. And in between the nice pictures and those pictures, he also sends pictures, videos rather, of a man, an older man having sex with a younger girl.
How long of a time period are we talking about where it's a mentor-mentee relationship to where it crossed the line, so to speak?
It goes from January of 2019, this year, until April 30th.
So it just started, really.
Well,
Did you have any kind of friendship, relationship
they
with
did.
him
You can
prior?
talk about that.
Yes, we started out as friends, strictly school-related, emotional, depression, to just close friends, and then as the week went on, I don't know what he thought we were.
Anastasia, so can you give us a little background about yourself? When did you come to the United States? When were you adopted? And you mentioned a couple of times about depression. Can you elaborate a little bit about how you got to that place? Was that unrelated to all of this? When
Yes,
did you come? When did you come? You came to the United States when?
When I was 5.
When you were 5. Okay. And you were adopted at 5, or okay. And can you talk a little bit about what was the level of depression? Was that related to anything specific?
No, just came out.
Teenage angst, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Could you just explain, Mr. Ray showed a couple of the text messages, and he says to you, I feel we have a passion for each other, you say agreed. Our relationship long-term is important to me, agreed. I mean, it didn't sound like you thought he was just being a mentor to you in some of these text messages.
That's what I saw him as, was a mentor.
Did you feel pressured to answer in any sort of way when he would kind of say these things to you?
Yes.
Did he wait till you were 18? Is that what the whole?
She turned 18 last June.
Oh, last
So
June. Oh, okay.
they've been,
Oh, so she's almost 19.
yeah, they've been, they being the family, have been friends with this man before that. He's been involved in their family life as a principal for several years. So he's had plenty of time to get his groom together, which he did. And in case you thought some of those, maybe those messages aren't strong enough, that in answer to your question, I'm sure you're not going to be able to use this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Here's some of the things that he said to her to mentor her, okay? He said to her, he passes at the head of his, touches your hands are interlocked with his as he pins your arms about your head, allowing your breasts to be fully exposed. Then he goes on, and it gets worse than that. I don't guess you don't need to hear the rest of it, but that's the kind of thing that he's writing to her by the time we get to mid-April.
Has there been, have you discovered any like pattern of behavior with this man, with other students? Have other people
Anastasia,
come
kids
forward?
we're all
talking
wondering.
about it, like, are other girls or?
Nobody has come up to me and said this has happened specifically, but they all did agree that they weren't surprised that this happened.
When you were in his
Anastasia-
office, was the door closed?
Yes, all the time.
Did you share?
And by the way, in the doors, he has 2 doors with windows. He has the windows blocked.
And his staff was outside? He has a secretary?
Yes, ma'am.
So you said to graduate next month?
Yes.
So you're still enrolled at the school?
And
Yes.
you're
Can
still
you just
going?
clarify when the school found out, or
How they found out?
The when after we kissed, I went to my friend and I told her what happened, and she told one of the teachers.
Is that the first time you shared this information with anyone in your circle, whether it be your parents or your friends? Had you talked to anybody about this?
During my spring break, I started opening up to 2 of my other friends that
what were
he's-
the reactions?
they were in shock. They couldn't believe that he would do this.
What's it like to walk through the halls now, knowing that this is...
It's definitely different. You can tell everybody's just in a shock state of mind.
For you? I mean, is it, do you have the same...
I definitely feel a lot of eyes on me, but I'm just trying to get through school.
And I'm
John, you
almost
believe
surprised-
there are other victims out there?
Yes, there are undoubtedly other victims. We're aware of 2 of them in the other school district, the prior school district. We believe, knowing how this man operates, that it's indubitable that there are other victims. We also believe possibly his own family. He has 2 children, 2 little kids, beautiful little girl that he sent a picture of. He told her in writing, to see how sick this guy is, he told her in writing that one girl was a lot of trouble for him. One child was a lot of trouble for him. So he was going to eliminate that child in order to keep the other. He actually says that in writing. He's dangerous to his own home as we speak. And nobody has done anything about
The word
this.
he used, eliminate?
Yeah, well, it was get rid of, wasn't it? Get rid of.
When there's only one child in a household.
John, you talked about counseling sessions, private counseling sessions daily. It's hard to believe that there's not anybody on the staff that's noticing the principal is missing for 45 minutes at a time every day with one student. Is it your belief that there is a cover-up, that there are other people on the staff who are aware of this and who covered it up for the principal?
We are absolutely certain that this was covered up by members of the district, not least because there is an assistant principal who twice burst in upon them when they were having these meetings and shouldn't have done that, but did it, therefore indicating that that principal or assistant principal knew what was going on. And anyone who's ever worked in a school or in a bureaucracy knows very well that everybody talks about everything.
Burst in what manner?
Burst into the room, just burst open the door.
Without knocking?
Without knocking and so on, twice.
Just to do something, or because there was concern, or what?
We believe because she was concerned at what was going on. But how could you, look, this is 1 month of text. Each one of these lines is a text. We couldn't even read through them for hours to get ready for the press conference. These texts are enormous. In 1 month, the man is doing nothing else but texting her, and on top of that, he's meeting with her several times a day in his office, closing the door for as much as 45-minute sessions. How could they not notice this is the principal of a central school district, a big district?
Did he give any indication that he knew he was doing something wrong?
Yes, he did. Not only did he give indication, but many times through these texts, Reagan says to her, erase this text. And then, when a teacher finally learns of this, and she apparently inadvertently gives him the heads up that he's in trouble, he calls her in. And he tells Anastasia, give me your phone, and he attempts to erase all her texts. He does erase them, but we were able, from the cloud, to take them back, and here they are. Not all of them, but most of them. Right. So he made an attempt to do this.
Is your guidance counselor still employed by the district?
Thank you. By the way, he then, when he realized that he was in trouble, he called Mary Ann. You can explain that.
Okay. After I received Anastasia's phone, I was driving away. My cell phone goes up, and it's Charlie Reagan. He tells me, doesn't even say hello, he just says, I'm sorry. It's a big pause. And he said, I'm sorry for what had happened. I said, I don't know the story. I don't know what's going on. But then he said to me, the district office will be contacting you, and we'll be calling you in to ask you questions.
So he admitted, essentially. Otherwise, why would he call?
Did you say anything back to him when you had a chance?
No.
That meeting with the district, I mean, how many people are in that meeting? What exactly is discussed at that meeting? Was he present for that meeting?
Which meeting? I'm
No,
sorry.
you said to meet with the district, or did that not happen?
No, he was not present. It
We'll
was
give
just
you
the
the ones that we've
assistant
copied.
superintendent.
Not even the superintendent?
Not at that point.
Yeah, we'll give you copies.
Oh, there's copies?
Yeah.
John, I know we're not gonna take that.
Yeah, sure.
How long was he the principal there?
He's been there since 2006, I believe.
2006.
Yeah, I believe so. So he's been there a while. He was assistant principal, now principal. With a female detective that knows about sex abuse and sex crimes, somebody with that kind of background, we want them in it immediately so that he can be criminally charged and an order of protection can be issued to protect this family and the other students. That's immediate. That's the first thing. We're also asking that the school district immediately support us and seek to have this man criminally prosecuted. Secondly, that they get rid of this nonsense that he is reassigned and instead suspend him under the education law without pay immediately. And that'll keep him away from the district and its environs. And finally, we are asking that the United States Attorney be notified, and we will notify the U.S. Attorney, and ask that the U.S. Attorney investigate because of, and take the proper steps, because the sexual improprieties and the murder threats are all done by internet, and they bring in the federal jurisdiction. And finally, we have just, as we sit here, we have served upon the district a notice of claim commencing the lawsuit that we're bringing for $10 million against the district. We're hoping that the district might develop a little sensibility about what they've done here when they get that, and they just got
Are you
it.
also going to file a notice of claim against the town because of the police department's failure to prosecute or take any action?
No, we can't. There's no criminal action against them for failure to prosecute. There is what's known as a special proceeding in Article 78. We're considering whether to do that or not to compel them to act. But we're not doing that if we can get the proper attention from the district attorney and the U.S. attorney. Keep in mind, when the detective investigated this from the town, it was a male detective, no females were involved here. We need somebody that really knows what's going on here and has some sensitivity to her status.
But aren't there laws that cover sexual assault? Just because she's 18, I mean, are you considering, I mean, you were saying she's sexually assaulted.
Yeah, there's a sexual abuse in the 3rd degree that covers it.
So why wouldn't that be,
We don't know why the Riverhead Police didn't pursue that. We have no idea.
John, do you know what his...
It's also a crime to destroy evidence of a crime.
But they have said to you that they're not pursuing it? I know we reached out to them last week and they said there was a report filed.
They told Mary Ann, and we have it, we have it verbatim, there are no criminal charges because she's 18 years old.
And that's from a detective to the family.
Correct.
Thanks, folks.
how do you prove his compensation is per year?
Yes,